I think Yuna's impact on FaZe was huge. 9XT on Pain has been huge. You know, Boar seemed to be a pretty good pickup for BootKamp Gaming. Paula was a huge addition to BootKamp Gaming earlier in this season. So, I mean, these are things where you look at and you expect a new player to come in and immediately improve the team.
They've got to justify it.
Noticeably. We'll bring up the map veto for you. BootKamp will ban first, and we'll see where we end up. So far today, we've seen Border, Bank, and Villa. Are we going to go all the way and see a brand new map as well?
So far, Border, the only one of those that's been banned. And as I say that, of course, Bank gets banned as well.
Clubhouse is also out of the equation, so there's no Clubhouse.
Nope.
We can't do Clubhouse.
Can't happen today.
Can't
Sorry. Probably tomorrow at least once.
Bank and Consulate are gone, leaving Villa still very much in the mix. Nope. Oregon versus Coastline, so we will have a brand new match. And it will go
Coastline.
to Coastline.
All right. Well, that's a good one. I was saying I was a little disappointed earlier we didn't see it. So we're seeing a nice variety today, which is great. 2
European maps in a row, both Villa and Coastline. Very nice. They play completely different. Let's keep that in mind. We said on Villa, you want to run up your defenses. On Coastline, you typically run up your attacks. And that's the way these play out. It really depends. If Mira gets banned, the attackers are going to win most of the time on Coastline because she's your best
We've seen
champ.
People actually not even bring Mira sometimes when it's not banned, just because, especially on Coastline, people just developed around it.
Yeah, that's part of the theory craft behind it is that, well, if you don't play her, you don't pick her, she gets banned. You go around it. Black Dragons winning 52% to BootKamp's 35% in what is our closest community vote of the day. Most of them
does make me wonder if it's going to take 6 months for people to realize it's a different Black Dragons. I mean, there's definitely other reasons you could be voting for them, but it's been pretty consistently, despite them doing bad most of the season, that they are in the majority on the community votes. Which does, again, either, I mean, it could just be fans of the org as well, or it could just be that people are waiting for that long shot bet to pay off.
Well, I mean, there's absolutely a popularity aspect to this, right? You know, you look at teams, especially Black Dragons, which is one of the most prestigious organizations and well-liked organizations in all of Brazil, carries a huge fan base. Cherry Gums, you know, the current the runner of the org, as we'd call it, the org owner, at the moment, she is incredibly popular, and with her, she brings fans. The team that is now known as NIP competed under that banner. They themselves were extremely popular. So all these things working in favor of Black Dragons. But
who've won 2 matches this whole season?
Right, and I mean that's the crazy thing to me is that BootKamp came so close to getting into the quarterfinals in DreamHack Montreal. You know, they're a competitive team. They've made roster changes that have presumably made the team better. Paula has been a great addition. On paper, this should have been more skewed in BootKamp's favor. They will be starting on defense, so with the first ban, they're going to take out Lion, which means that we will not see our favorite feline today.
I feel like if I'm a player in the current meta, I would develop a lot of use of Lion and then just not ban him. If the other team bans him, cool. You're used to the Lion being banned. If if they don't ban them, and you're already prepared to deal with it and prepared to play it. But either way, Dokkaebi going to be the second one. That is an operator that is banned a lot more in other regions, but definitely does get banned occasionally. And then Clash. So Maverick, who has not really been banned much today, or maybe not even at all. I think maybe he was banned once. He was banned once
in the very first matchup.
Still hasn't been played since.
You haven't seen him at all. You know, I don't think Maverick's been played at all today. Mira getting banned on Coastline, and this is likely going to be a very attacker-sided contest here. Dokkaebi getting removed is interesting, solely because we haven't seen Dokkaebi that much, though her pick rate has remained quite high.
On this map, however, it is something that will help you take care of those roamers much faster, which on a map where you can cordon off and seal off and kill roamers fairly effectively here, that would just make the attack that much more effective. So I do understand you don't want to deal with Lion and you don't want to deal with phone calls. Now, you know, your worst enemy is Jackal, at most. So, definitely can understand that. Kitchen, the most defensible bomb site. Going to be no surprise to see them go to that. But Ying is definitely going to be a big problem for them if you can get Ying close to site when they're ready to go for an execute. As Kitchen is only really 2 rooms. We've seen some good executes to throw Candelas in delivery as well to storm in for a plant. So, definitely some good use of that. And then Drunk's going to sneak off that glass to a buck as Drix goes from Valk to Legion. So teams wanting to kind of fake each other out here a little bit in this first round. So let's hope this Slash plays Ying better than the other Slash. Love you, Spencer. Well, they are going to go for the reinforcing the kitchen wall. I know there are definitely teams out there that like to shotgun and open quite a bit to be able to play it, which makes it good for a retake strategy if you can play comfortably outside in courtyard late game and you're a team that is going to take and keep control of lobby for the most part. In this case, though, them sealing it off makes me think they're going to focus maybe a bit more on that top-level control rather than retake strategy and try and delay as long as possible. They do have an Echo, as this is Echo not being banned for once, so he will definitely get played here. Interestingly enough, though, they have the Maestro and the Echo, since neither was banned, so they're definitely going to be able to take advantage of that, along with Smoke and Legion, to do a lot to deny this plant. So on a bomb site where you could technically just storm right in, they have a lot of utility to stop that from happening.
M-King having some difficulties here, trying to get the yokai drone to stick to the ceiling.
Used to get one at home to practice with.
It's suction cups. Not quite as effective.
They're not sucking enough.
No, I was gonna. Thank you for making that joke. I appreciate that.
That's what I'm here for.
I was considering making it.
I get to be the dad joke punching bag. It's fine.
I'm glad that you were able to employ it. Now, one thing I am interested on for Black Dragons here is I'd imagine that they're likely going to use this Ying probably through the service door entrance. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
You're going to have the ADSs trying to stop you. You're going to need to burn them. Very likely that Thermite and Twitch are not going to have projectiles. Levy doesn't have a projectile. So, likely having the Ying probably running a Claymore, or maybe breaching charges, means that you don't have the correct amount of projectile spam to be able to take out those ADSs.
If you even had a Thatcher, that would make up for it.
Thatcher, I mean, Twitch can zap the ADSs. There you go, one yokai is going to
They do have IQ to spot them, though. So
that is true.
Potentially, if they can find angles on them, that could work out okay. Although that would require left probably to be outside the window more than on the bar side like he's right now. Because the range is a bit shorter, so chances are he's not going to see any into delivery, just the ones in kitchen itself.
Yeah. I mean, the bigger curiosity for me is if you don't burn those ADSs, your Ying's effects dramatically go down. And I mean, that is going to have to be something that Black Dragons endeavors to do over the next minute and a bit. Very liberal usage of the yokai here from M-King, as he's only got one left, and he's going to try to send it over to harass the IQ of Levy playing downstairs inside a Sunrise bar. All of Duds' supporting cover on this soft wall gets torn wide open by Drunks, and the Buck will just simply move on, leaving Duds here and RDZ in a standoff, trying to contest one another, but RDZ is going to go on Shock Drone and maybe try to scope out exactly where the Jaeger is. Nope. The drone will instead go downstairs. As two members of Black Dragons, just by the front door towards kitchen here, the smoke will peak and intact. So long, farewell, goodbye. Levy with the very first kill. Drix right now on flank, heading through main lobby. Candela's rattling off, Slash watching to see if there's a yokai drone, getting the calls here, and well, Drix is going to be able to take out Levy, but Slash cannot get the kill needed. Diffuser will go down successfully, so Black Dragons doing the objective as best as they can. Now they'll scramble in the post plant and set up exactly as they need to. Trying to lock out a defuse here as RDZ eliminates Duds, and M-King, Paula, and Drix are still alive. But Diffuser about to hit the halfway point. Buck is going to peek, and he's going to sustain a lot of damage, but continue to live on for the time being. Drunks will just hide, knowing that time is very much on his side. RDZ and the Buck of Drunks will be able to take out Drix. And M-King in a 2v1. RDZ and Drunks just left, but the Diffuser is too far gone, and M-King will just be getting impactless frags. Instead of going with the Bearing 9, he's going to have the pistol, the P229 available, but that Diffuser going down, that's a big play for Black Dragons, and they'll take round number 1.
Well, you said it best early on. Black Dragons playing for objective, not for frags. Absolutely paying off for them there. They read into the fact that there was defenders upstairs, and what they did was set up in a way that they forced them to watch angles the whole time. Because the defenders were sitting there watching angles, they were not free to rotate back because they didn't have a whole lot of control of their rotates even. They were too busy expecting the attackers to walk into them, which they never seemed to for the most part, and that absolutely paid off. They took control of the kitchen, Candela it out, planted, and then just held for potential retake. As those defenders who were holding angles had to try and move off those positions, that was pretty much read into as well. So overall, a very good execute by Black Dragons and a great start for them on the most defensible bomb site At least that's the common opinion.
Kitchen is definitely right now inhabiting the role of defenders win here, please.
Yeah.
That's where it is. And a large part are the operators. I would be very interested to see how Echo with only one yokai drone or Maestro not being in existence with these operator bans, how that would possibly play into Kitchen, because I can't imagine it being any easier to defend Kitchen if Maestro didn't exist and if Echo still only had one of those yokai drones.
Yeah.
Make it very untenable for defenders. So those things obviously aiding the defense quite well, given the fact that a lot of people will suggest that this map in particular, being designed around Mira, makes her crucial on a number of sites, especially upstairs inside a Penthouse Theater, which for the longest time was the most played site here.
Yeah, it definitely is falling in favor with most teams. There are a few teams like Rogue that still think it's a good bomb site and will run it as their primary, but I think they're a very rare team to run it as their primary site. The Kitchen or the Bar tends to be the primary ones now. Hookah has definitely run a lot more than it used to, but it's still not necessarily as high a win rate as most defenders would like. This is why you're seeing Bar be the secondary here. Now, of course, they didn't have to switch. They could have played Kitchen again. They're going to switch things up with the Bar and hope that this is going to fare a little bit better. They're not running the Echo this time. They're just going to depend on that Maestro. They are going to have the Valkyrie to be able to at least provide some intel. They did spot someone up there on his phone as well for a second there. Can't quite repeat that. He's definitely catching one defender, potentially Guardian. Oh, no, it's the Vigil. Sorry, not on his phone, but rather running the Jammer. He is unfortunately not killed, though, as that is through a very hard wall. So Drix just getting away with this, distracting Levy at best, as they struggle to find good map control from the outside.
Oh, and so close to nailing one down here as the Vigil is just going to continue to exist unabated. But Levy holding this angle. Oh, he's going to capitalize. Drix doesn't see it coming. That'll be a great opening frag for Black Dragons as Levy proving his worth so far here on the team. That's a pretty big and important pick to alleviate some pressure on the rest of your entry.
Well, at least he lived about a minute and a half, which is all you can hope for roamers on Coastline these days. But the Ying is coming into effect here again, but Duds is actually in a great position to not get blinded to counter it. However, M King with the first kill from that onto the Ying.
I'd suspect that Slash just tossed the Candelas in, but both times these Candelas have been used very effectively as cover for the defuse to go down. RDZ 2 kills traded off by Duds. He'll be cooled off and sent to timeout for the next 30 seconds or so. Drunk's very low on HP. Smalls has taken some damage too, but there's only 2 members of BK. So this is a possible retake scenario, but the diffuser in a position that is very exposed. Oh, great shot from Levy to take out Duds, and Paula with that MPX, as previously noted, not exactly the highest fire rate. Levy with 3 kills, 2 from RDZ. And what a round from Black Dragons. They are looking mighty fine. I was about to be critical of the Candela play, saying that it looks like now 2 rounds in a row, these Candelas have gone off, and it's led to nothing. Slash just walks in, he gets gunned down immediately. They have done a great job of evading those ADSs. Now, whether they're getting tased by the Twitch, whether they're getting taken out by hand, whether they're getting spotted by the IQ, doesn't particularly matter how, but they're doing a great job of working around them. So my speculation that Jaeger would be particularly effective against Black Dragons was wrong. But both times now, Black Dragons using these Candelas to draw all of BootKamp's attention away from the defuse.
Mm-hmm.
And both times that defuse going down extremely successfully.
Yeah. I got to admit, it is unusual in the way it's being used, but it's definitely working. I got to say, RDZ doing a great job on that Twitch as well. As he hasn't necessarily gotten 3 4Ks, but he's been successfully getting, I believe, at least 2 each round so far. Doing a good job of that. Yep, at least 2. There you go. 2 for him, 2 for Levy. So those 2 definitely doing some work for the team in terms of the frags. And then, of course, as you mentioned, Slash being a nice distraction, working out to an extent for them. As we mentioned in some of the earlier matches that there was very few diffuse plants getting down. That has definitely not been the case for Black Dragons. While this is an attacker-sided map, it is impressive how often they've been able to get the actual diffuser down rather than just trying to frag it out. They're playing, as you said earlier, very, very much for objective. And I got to credit Black Dragons for that because sometimes in Latin America, you don't see that a lot.
I mean, the attackers are winning as expected here on the Coastline as well. So let's try to keep that in mind.
Of course.
But I mean, that doesn't necessarily indicate much. Look at EU last week, for example. Was it the Supremacy Chaos match? Supremacy on Villa couldn't put anything together on defense. And was that just simply, oh, you know, they can't put anything on attack either? What's going on? Is that just Supremacy playing poorly, or is that the map possibly being affected by the operator bans? Well, it turned out that it was just Chaos playing very, very well. That map ended up being quite one-sided, and you can't really draw any conclusions from that, because it's just clear at that point that one team has a distinct advantage over the other. Same thing could be here. Could just be that Black Dragons maybe is the better team. Maybe we switch to defense and Black Dragons does quite well on defense. We don't know. It really depends on how this shapes up. But for the time being, very firmly in the driver's seat. Drunk's just narrowly missing Duds as he tries to peek around the doorway in the kitchen. And Levy's there, but Duds, a great shot, opens things up and then goes for a pre-fire through the wall, trying to tag up Drunk, so the Buck will just continue to persist. But he's going to be under fire from two separate angles. Drix has now been downed, and RDZ, who's been having a banger of a game so far, will pick up yet another frag. In just 3 rounds, he's been able to put quite an impressive tally together. He does take a lot of damage as he lies prone inside of security, and could possibly go for a reset should he still have one of those Twitch drones remaining. Drunks will finally find a kill, this time on Napala, though, so that was the Pulse that was playing nowhere near Duds. And now Duds creeps around the corner, but he'll be able to beat out RDZ. What a shot. Rare that the F2 gets out-muscled by another weapon.
Well, this is 3-3, but the 2 most important fraggers on Black Dragons have now been taken out. And, I mean, Duds is still in position to get reset here. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen as Drunks finishes him off. Now, this is finally in Black Dragon's advantage, but they have, again, lost 2 best fraggers. So it depends on the fragging power of BK here.
Oh!
They're just... We have seen so many good smoke shotgun plays these days. It seems like people are really getting in the groove of that shotgun now that the SMG-11 is slightly nerfed. They've kind of made some work of the pump.
You have to be a lot more conservative with your smoke now because you can't take the same fight. You've got an ACOG of the Alda of M-King and the shotgun of Intact going for a third. He'll grab it. What a play from the smoke around the opened hole on the back of Theater. And Intact absolutely nailing it, doing his best Pengu impression. As everybody pushes him staggered, BootKamp puts their first round on the board.
Well, that's definitely one of the first times I've seen that big open hole on Theater actually work against the attackers for once, because they didn't really play together. They were just kind of playing on either side of it, hoping he would come out. But he didn't need to. He just needed enough of an angle to hit solid with that shotgun at that closer range. Well, unfortunate for the attackers. I don't think that's going to be a repeat thing we're going to see here, but on their third and hardest to defend bomb site, them actually winning it, huge credit to Intact. They're doing a fantastic job defending that. He's going to switch off the smoke, though, with a 6-pick to Frost of all things. So, if you're going to 6-pick to something, it does make sense, though, for kitchen delivery. We do know that the Frost mats on this bomb site are much more effective than the other bomb sites in here, so it's not a huge surprise that you can just... Because you can stick them in some good spots near the delivery door, as well as around the actual desk in the lobby that people often vault over. Some good spots all around, although those have got to be fairly predictable by now. You've definitely got to know that those are there. But the thing is, can you do anything about that? And will you forget when push comes to shove at the end of the round when you're pushing in desperate for that plant?
I mean, the Frost is used very similarly, and try not to... for those of whom I know that are going to jump on me for this, are used very similarly towards the way that teams use Clash, in the sense that typically you're going to place your Frost mat in strategic positions so that when the push needs to happen and teams are desperate to try to close the round out because the clock is providing a tougher challenge than their opponents, they need to take either a fight against one of the defenders or the Frost mat. And usually you run out of time. Similar to how Clash is strongly used when the timer is running down, you get desperate and you have to attack the Clash and you don't have enough utility left. Similar to the way that the Frost works. You're out of time, you know you got to run in, there's too much haste, you end up paying for it.
Here's why I think it's actually a bad pick. The way Black Dragons are playing, they are not in those situations, and they're not even entering from the side of the bomb site that they're putting mats on. The way they've been playing this, those mats are not going to affect them. And if it were another team, sure. I mean, Vitality or something, trying to push to the last second, absolutely. But Black Dragon's been playing the objective, getting the plant down early in a round. They are not desperate for that plant, and so I don't think they're going to be effective. But hey, if they try and change things up this round, maybe it will.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good way of putting it, is that BootKamp have not been doing a sufficient job of making Black Dragons have to play the clock. Black Dragons have actually been quite fast at being able to take map control away and get those early picks. And then this joint push strategy that Black Dragons is doing right now, where they're using the Ying to distract, as I mentioned, and then have other members of the team carry through with the diffuser, that is huge right now. And I mean, last round, very much so, Black Dragons managed their time very poorly. They're in a position now where it's getting scary close to where Black Dragons have accomplished very little in the first half of this round. They've got their sights lined up, and they're obviously hoping for crosses from the defenders here, possibly trying to flush somebody out, and that's why you see so much of Black Dragons at the moment on drones, but it's not doing much.
Yeah. It's definitely not being very effective here, and I imagine this Evil Eye is definitely going to make it even less effective if it manages to catch some of those drones trying to go in. But it's the way the roamers are playing kind of around the site. They are in a good position to deny an attack coming from bar, assuming they can land the shots. And then you've got this cheeky little peek here. The 9mm is actually a very good gun right now, even at range. It's got very little recoil, very strong gun. And Drix managing to kill on Leffy there, again, taking down one of the top fraggers early.
If RDZ goes down, I have to suspect that most of his push will fall apart. Getting zapped by the Evil Eye Drunks, just playing inside of the main lobby, as that Evil Eye upside in Courtyard is going to prove to be quite a hindrance. RDZ takes out Paula. That's the Legion down in the Frost. Still just sitting and waiting. Intact was playing prone by that hole, able to get a big kill, as you noted. But RDZ a second kill, and Small jumping in as well. It's going to be a 2v2. Frost and Jaeger still upright, but time very much not on the side. Oh, does the run out from the main door, and RDZ will just run right into Intact. And BootKamp will put two together. So here is BootKamp firing up, taking 2 rounds in a row on defense. One on Penthouse and one on Kitchen.
I think maybe they were thinking, because there was so many stacked up around the bar door, they thought, okay, let's go from the delivery entrance this time. That was really just playing into Frost. Although the mats weren't what killed him, it was the gun that did the work. Either way, they were still playing into Intact like they had the previous round. And well played by BootKamp, absolutely forcing them into position. But that was, again, Black Dragons not really playing their own game. They were playing BootKamp's game. That was the big problem there. You don't want to be playing the other team's game. The first 2 rounds, it really felt like Black Dragons were playing their own game and winning. Now the tables have turned. We'll see who goes ahead with winning the 3 points in the initial 5 rounds. But so far, it's looking like BootKamp are managing to swing it back.
Overall, BootKamp have recovered very gracefully in a situation that could have continued to go very, very poorly for them. And now they find themselves having won twice on defense, something that doesn't always happen on Coastline. It is common to see a 3-2 split on Coastline, sure, but 4-1's also quite common depending on the way that the defenders play it. This is going to be their real test.
Yeah.
The 2 best sites, presumably, for the defense, especially with Kitchen now being off the board.
Yeah.
BootKamp is going to have to go to a site that they have not won previously, which is the double bars. They lost this in round number 2. And because they have to go to either hookah or double bars, both of these sites work very, very well with the glass. Well, all these sites work well with the glass.
Yeah.
But because Kitchen and Penthouse are off the table, it's safe for Black Dragons to run that glass and know that you're going to get maximum value out of that operator, especially onto the main foyer, which is where the diffuser was planted last time on this particular site. So with both the Ying as well as the glass, this could be devastating for BootKamp. And I would imagine that we're probably going to see BootKamp get very aggressive and try to provoke fights against Black Dragons in order to try to negate the advantage that Black Dragons' composition is going to have.
They also have RDZ switching off the Twitch to provide additional smoke support as Jackal. Obviously, they, it's a great position to have both bringing the smokes, because they're already using a lot of distraction for the plants as it is with the Ying, but you throw in 2 sets of smokes with the Glaz and the Thatcher there, that's something else they hadn't been bringing. They're really setting up to take this strong it is going to be down to M King on that Yokai, I think, for the most part, along with maybe Pala on the ACOG LMG as well as his Evil Eyes to try and stop it. But the utility coming out from the attackers, I think, is a great setup to make this happen, assuming they can get into the right position for it. They do have a drone just freely watching them in the site, though. And that is going to lead potentially to Levy with a nice kill. There it is. Baited his teammate of Small, who's almost dead now, but absolutely worth it, as M King takes down Slash, and RDZ gets his first kill onto the smoke. So they are set up to play this now that the smoke counter to Glaz is now taken out.
So that's a really big loss for both teams, but it can end up being a wash here, as Intact is going to probably be your second best plant denial, your best answer to this Glaz. Your second best is going to be Paula having these Evil Eye cams available. Both smoke grenades from RDZ are out there too, so still lots of opportunity to cut off the defenders.
Well,
that's Drunks getting a kill, and Duds is going to go for another run out. Drix down, RDZ down. Small and Drunks very, very low on HP, and Drunks, even though he doesn't have much left, well, he'll find M King. You don't need a ton of HP to be able to get frags in this game. Duds will pick up his second kill. He's trying to collect them all. Planter goes down yet again. That's 3 of 5 rounds that we see a successful plant for Black Dragons. But Levy, a Glaz in a 1v2, not always an enviable position. He's going to see Paula for just a second, but this is going to be tough. Oh, he snaps onto the heads! Levy with a double kill! They both walk right into his sight, and the Glaz will be triumphant. Black Dragons in a tough spot, but they'll pull through.
That was unfortunate to watch them just throw themselves at that Glaz. I mean, to be fair, he was playing it good and smart in terms of he was watching all the angles, he was making sure he was covered, but he can only watch so many at once. They needed to be peeking him both at the same time to guarantee they get a kill on him. He can't literally kill both at the same time. If they had come out from, say, both sides, you had the one coming out from around, possibly coming from the blue bar windows, and you could have had one jump out in the kitchen window at the same time. Had they done that, theoretically they might have been able to catch him. Doing it one at a time like that, you're just hoping to get lucky at that point. And the Glaz doesn't need very many hits to kill you and doesn't have to hit your head. So, well played, though. That was definitely a good round for them. Again, getting the plant down despite losing all of his teammates. He was in a fine clutch position because they got the diffuser down. And I got to say, planting is definitely Black Dragon's strength right now. Unfortunately, as they go on defense, now they've got to try and deny those plants from BootKamp. But I am fairly impressed with their attacks, despite them only winning 3 of those 5 rounds.
All right. Real test.
Yep.
How is Black Dragon going to do in this defense, as you mentioned? I like what they bring to the table. Both these compositions, very similar to one another. Both teams aping these lineups. Elysian has not been a big factor here for a number of these defenses for BootKamp. We'll see what they're going to be able to do for Black Dragons. On BootKamp's side of things, this is a very strong lineup in terms of fragging potential. A lot of raw power here. Even your support operators in IQ, in Hibana, bring tons of killing potential. You got a Jackal with a great weapon, you got a Zofia with a great weapon, you got an Ashe with a great weapon. You've got 2 possible great weapons on the Hibana, and then you've got Intact with the 5.52 Commando, which, surprisingly enough, the Commando on IQ may be one of the weaker weapons here, depending on how you view the Type 89 on M King. But that's really open to your own opinions of these operators. I know that there are some people who find that the small magazine size of the Type 89 isn't exactly always reliable.
I'm getting the impression there's a lot of weapons being brought here.
Yeah, I mean, every operator has one, believe it or not. Paula will get spotted on a drone. The Jaeger was not too far off, just playing beside the wall inside of theater. Now, the way that a lot of BootKamp will roll out its operators into Paula is that they will have Paula escorted by 2 to 3 drones. RDZ, who was unable to be found, will find the first kill onto Duds. That's utility off the board, Zofia down, and a lot of gadgetry that will now not be there. But Paula blows open the wall and say goodbye as he snaps onto Drunks. It's a high priority target. Intact will circle around through Guitar and manage to grab the kill on RDZ. And it's been a very swift entry for BootKamp. 2 very important kills in the first minute 30.
Definitely more aggressive in terms of fragging coming out from BootKamp than we saw from Black Dragons, who were mostly just taking map control for an execute. This is a very different playstyle here. Attacked with a reset despite the time whittling down. But hey, they had man advantage, might as well keep it strong.
Small just trying to circle around, but on the stairs, there's Drix. The Jackal will just absolutely pulverize the Legion. He trades it off onto M-King. And then Paula trades that one off too. There's still a minute left, and it has been an absolute fracas between these teams. Black Dragons will now need to fight from behind as Levy downstairs, isolated, nowhere near the site in particular, but he's got Diffuser in front of him. So this is a good position. He's still got 2 of his toxic canisters as well.
Well, I guess you don't need to be near site if they don't have the diffuser, right? So that's a good position. They are going to drone it, though, which is the smart thing to do right now rather than face-checking him. But sending 2 drones to the same spot, that's not going to help you a whole lot there. Although, thankfully for them, 1 drone does survive.
It's an audio cue as you hear the goo mine go off. Levy will cross to the bar in Sunrise and unable to control the invisible burst recoil of the SMG-11. Sees ahead for just a second, but no, he hesitates. A nice drop from Drix, but he cannot outduel Levy. Levy vulnerable from the side, and that's exactly what's going to happen. A distraction from just a moment of Paula's time, and Intact is there to circle around and cut him off. What a beautiful shot. They didn't even need that diffuser.
No. Overall, though, I'd say that was still not too bad of a defense coming down to the wire like that, getting the diffuser trapped in the room as they did. But the aggression of BootKamp absolutely paying off. Although some could be said for the aggression of Black Dragons, putting themselves in positions to get fragged that early into the round. Although that's BootKamp, they don't really seem to care as much about the objective as Black Dragons do, so they are definitely going to go for those roam clears earlier on.
The one major criticism of BootKamp's style of play is that it tends to echo a lot of what we see from Liquid's style of play. Paula is essentially Nesk. He gets droned in by a number of people. He kills a lot of people. Now, Paula is not Nesk.
Yeah.
Nesk is probably the best player in terms of pure skill in all of Latin America. But you still have somebody who's likely playing a 3-speed with a very good weapon in their hands, getting droned in by multiple people, capable of killing everything in their path. And that's what we see from Paula time and time again. It was described at DreamHack Montreal by members of Team Secret as you will literally get droned 3 to 4 times and then just get destroyed by Paula as he sprints right in. And that's something that is a problem for BootKamp, because if Paula goes cold, or if those drones don't work effectively, or the teamwork and communication falls off, there isn't exactly a reserve of fragging potential from BootKamp every game. Now, as you can see the scoreboard here being highlighted for quite a while, Paula is tied for bottom frag right now, so the rest of the team is able to shoulder that load for this game. They are able to do well, and the rest of the team doing more than their fair share to keep it close with Black Dragons.
I mean, to be fair, we have seen Y Intact at the top of the board there. He has been doing a fantastic job, not just on the defense, but on the first attack round as well. And I think, yeah, they are shouldering a lot on Paula, and it's just a case where some of the people are just showing up regardless.
Intact in particular has had a really good day, and that's been really important for their team. And being able to shut down RDZ and Levy, who have really been the standout performers from Black Dragons so far. You just try to check if the drone was a gadget.
He was seeing if it was alive, I guess. That was an interesting thing used there. Maybe just a joke for the spectator. Either way, though, good play by Intact. As we're talking him up, you see him doing things like that, right?
Doing zany things that you look at and you go, all right.
Now, he is bringing breach charges, so if they can take control of that room, yeah, they didn't bring a sledge or a buck, but he can tear up a lot of that floor with 3 breach charges there, assuming he doesn't get killed doing that. Not to mention they have the Jackal to be able to shotgun the floor as well if they need to. So once they get some control there, they are going to be in a good position to potentially take this, but we see Black Dragons doing something we didn't see from BootKamp, which is repeating the same site when they didn't win it. So hopefully that will work out in Black Dragons' favor the way it somewhat did in the match earlier that we saw.
I mean, that's a good start. You lose the Jackal. That's the only set of smokes for BootKamp that are now gone, and smokes particularly important for executing onto a kitchen push, especially if you're going to try to siphon off some of the focus from the other team onto delivery, which is what
a Ying.
You don't have a Glaz, you don't have a Ying, you don't have a Capitao. Capitao has actually been scarily silent in most of these games. He holds a pretty high pick rate in the other regions in particular. Paula missing his shots quite hard downstairs, unable to just simply outduel members of Black Dragons, but Intact will not miss his. So long, Drunks, the mute gone possibly a bulletproof camera or a nitro cell that was brought with that operator that could possibly be unavailable for the defenders.
Well, that is 1 for 1, though. It is still, I was going to say 4v4, but as I say that, Paula showing up like you were talking about him earlier, still losing a bit of health. He does tend to take a few shots as he gets his kills, but they're in a good position. They haven't taken out the most important operators left, though, which is Small with the C4 and Levy with the smoke.
And yeah, there you have Small playing, as you mentioned him, takes out Duds, the Zofia, unable to really see much from the Polish operator in terms of what she can cause havoc with those concussion mines. Levy playing inside of the bars again. Oh, a beautiful shot on Napala. It's not easy to hit those on the Ash, and that will be one of the hottest hands on BootKamp completely silenced. A rotate from BootKamp now coming in as Intact heads over towards delivery, but there's Levy again doing full court press. M-King just holding an angle, realizing with just a second left, no point being a statistic whatsoever. He will survive, but Black Dragons will regain the lead, defending Kitchen and doing so successfully.
So I was running the gun skin as well. Looked nice.
It did.
Yeah. Well, good round, though, for Black Dragons. I felt like that was much better played than we saw the first round. And, of course, we saw definitely some players really showing up from the team. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to take them down. Black Dragons have only dropped 1 round so far on their defense, but they're going to try Bar now. So they lost Kitchen, then won Kitchen. Bar has been the secondary now for both teams, and it was a struggle for BootKamp. They tried it twice, lost it twice. So it'll be the test here. As you said, this is the test, right? This one especially will be the test here because it was one that BootKamp could not win. So if Black Dragons could win it, that puts them in a good position here, not just off of winning that, but of course putting themselves on map at match point and potentially jumping right back over NIP again if they can pull that off. If not, if they can get at least the next round, that puts them in a lock for that 1 point, which again, as we mentioned earlier, would put them ahead of NIP. So all they've got to do is win 1 round out of the next 2 to guarantee themselves that they jump over NIP. And that's a good position to be in for Black Dragons, who, they seem to be earning that spot today.
Definitely doing work, realizing that the end could possibly be near for not just their season, but also the Pro League careers of this team. Keep in mind that the roster of Black Dragons have only spent this season in Pro League. Well, bold strategy putting an Evil Eye on a soft wall. Now, for those that are unaware, if you shoot the soft wall around the Evil Eye will blow up.
Yeah, they've got 4 people that can make easy work of that soft wall.
Sledge is going to be able to hit it no matter what, but I mean, you can just...
But from the other side.
Yeah, you can literally just spray away at the wall. Caliber-based destruction will tear enough of the wall apart that you'll lose the gadget. And I mean, part of the benefit of having the Evil Eye is the fact that you literally can't shoot it unless it's open.
Yeah.
Put it on a reinforcement and you have to expend some soft destruction in order to blow it up, or even a projectile. And I mean, you just made it easy. Unless they can just simply try and avoid taking engagements with BootKamp up there, and then the Evil Eye could possibly be safe. But BootKamp, for the time being, appears to be very heavily interested in the downstairs clip.
I'm just going to chalk that up to someone not doing the reinforcement on that wall and him not having time left to really call that out because, you know, it was getting the end of prep phase, just had to do what he had to do.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that ends up costing them the round, right? That'll be the eye that watches them lose. Paolo, though, with the first kill, not to be, or not surprised considering he's the entry fragger, but that's RDZ, one of the 2 top fraggers for the team, already taken down. Not a good start for Black Dragons, but they've still got Levy on the board there.
And just waiting as RDZ, who's been one of the most competent members of Black Dragons so far. That's a big blow as well, and just in terms of killing potential. Drunk's upstairs, still has that Evil Eye available for him. He's going to get droned out. You can see where his reinforcements went onto the wall inside of Pink. He'll see the sledge and great tracking. Drix is down. Sees the second, but cannot be able to outduel Paula. That's a pretty routine kill there for the Ash, as Paula bobs up and down behind the pool table, far out of reach of the Maestro. Small looked like they were next in line, but he'll just creep up towards the main hallway and anticipate a push. He's got Slash positioned not too far off inside a Sunrise bar if he needs a possible trade. And Levy underneath the hatch. All of Black Dragons very spread out. Nobody on site right now. they're not really doing their due diligence. And if BootKamp read this correctly, it could be an absolute lockout. What a great shot from Small, and he immediately pivots and looks for a second, but that's going to be the Hibana of M-King wading his way through courtyard. Small's anticipating a possible push, but will now be last one left as he loses Levy. He will, however, see Intact and drop him. The IQ will not go any farther, but Paula emerges at the last second in a bit of a sleepy round there for both teams. Action coming in short bursts. BootKamp will once again equalize and keep this so close. Round 9 we go.
Well, definitely going to stay close. As you said, there was a pretty high vote for tie game, and it does seem like we are drifting that direction so far. But as I said earlier, Bar was par for the course in terms of people losing it on their defenses here so far. They are going to try it again, though. So if they can continue their streak of winning a second time, that will, again, put them at that map and match point and guarantee the 1 point for them. So it is definitely worth it. If you think for sure they can make it work this time, try and stick it because, well, it's your secondary and you don't want to have to go to a third. You don't want to have to go to Penthouse. Although, oddly enough, Penthouse was the first defense that BootKamp won, despite that being their third bomb site. So you never know. It comes down to that. They did manage to win that. Although that was due to some great shotgun pump work by Intact on that hole they opened in theater. Probably wouldn't see something like that again. But here we go. 4 second attempt at Bar. This is to get the guaranteed 1 point. Someone for sure will be coming out of this round with that guaranteed 1 point.
Huge for Black Dragons. Big for BootKamp as well. Because keep in mind, BootKamp is not that far off of possibly falling into relegations themselves. Now, they do have quite a bit of breathing room. Right now, BootKamp is sitting at, if I remember, 13 points. As of this moment, Nip is sitting at 9, and Black Dragons are sitting at 8. So even if Black Dragons wins next week and BootKamp loses again, BootKamp still doesn't slide down into one of those two relegations.
I can't see them ending up in 7th and 8th at the end. I mean, they have on games, they have off games, but I think there's enough on games that I think they're probably not going to end up down there. It really is going to be probably between Nip and Black Dragons, but looking more and more like it might be Nip, but Nip kind of turned things around today to an extent.
Yeah, I mean, Nip put on a very strong performance. Black Dragons have had a bit of a slog here against BootKamp. Both teams have had very definitive rounds. They've looked very confident, but BootKamp really taking their lumps. Intact, Paula, and Duds all below full HP, but they have full control of sight. Levy, a double kill, the pulse, and he's going to go for a third, Levy! Oh my god! Just waiting for another to dare get into his sight. For the time being, Black Dragons, I said a definitive round, and, well, there it is. What an incredible play from Levy.
It's appropriate that he's playing Pulse. He seems to be the heartbeat of the team.
That dam will not burst.
Yeah.
Not yet. Paula now just struggling to gain some control from above. Will find the Jaeger of RDZ, and Drix, completely lost, will be Levy's 4th kill, and Black Dragons will guarantee themselves 1 point, pushing Nip back down to 8th on the scoreboard. That UMP may not be a formidable weapon in most circumstances, but under pressure, Levy thrived. And we're going to go to the final round now with Black Dragons on match point.
Well, again, that puts Black Dragons, if we understood correctly, now they jump ahead of Nip, regardless of what happens in this round. However, they could jump much further ahead. Of course, if they could take this last round, they're going to go to Kitchen again. Now, they've won both their bomb sites the second time around, Kitchen and Bar. And we saw this in an earlier situation where we were talking about the exact same thing, where they would win it the second time around, and they just wouldn't win it that last time is what happened. So see if they can manage to pull it off. If they can win it a second time on their third try of Kitchen, then they're in a good position to close this out. 6-4 victors. So we'll see. Obviously, there is no overtime in the system, so either way, this is the final round. So this is the one where BD needs to sweat as hard as they can to go from 1 point to 3 on the scoreboard to make themselves that much safer from Nip being able to knock them back down to that 8th place spot. They are going to go ahead with reinforcing the whole wall in the Kitchen. There's something I was mentioning earlier. Look at that. Levy and RDZ, double digits for their team. Absolutely just showing up.
And doing so with Slash playing as much of a supporting role as possible, racking up a number of assists, but yet to find his way onto the score sheet. And that is something where a lot of teams can overlook that, because as much as kills are not the be-all and end-all of this game, and as much as we try to instill in people, and a lot of the pros will as well, that you can emerge from a game with 1, 2, 3, 4 kills with a victory and be very proud of your performance because your focus was not getting those kills. Not being able to find a kill, period, when involved in a number of fights, as Slash has been, suggests that, yeah, Slash is still doing his job, but he's also not hitting the shots he needs to. He's also not there when put into positions where he should be getting kills. He's not being able to get them. That is something where if Black Dragons were getting crushed right now, that's when the finger pointing starts. But they can overlook it for the time being.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, when you've seen as many Thermites just frag out as we've seen, I don't think the supporting role excuse cuts it anymore in this game.
Yeah.
At this level that it is now.
I mean, especially 9XT. We just saw, but, we'll start things off with Paula pulling out that grenade launcher of Ash, and we'll be just gone. RDZ out-dueling the Ash. A nice classical Ash Jaeger composition, and RDZ will find his second just on the roam. Unable to find the Jaeger. Black Dragons looking to lock this one away. And BootKamp has half of the round to try and stabilize. Drunks did get down. He'll get reset, but as he gets picked back up, that's going to be pretty vital as there's Drix. Gone. A big C4 from Small will mean it's all up to Intact. Black Dragons need these points.
If anyone's going to do it, could be Intact here. 1:15 left, and all your friends are dead. As he walks through their corpses, he's going to have to find these 4, and they know exactly where he's at right now. Cannot win the gunfight just yet.
But they'll double up on him, and there you go. Slash will break the curse. He gets the kill he needs and doesn't end it on a 0. Black Dragons getting a big, big win. They'll close the gap with BootKamp above them. They'll vault out of that 8th auto relegation spot, nip back down to 8th. Black Dragons still possibly fighting against relegations, but at least they'll have a chance in a match.
Here's the funny thing about today. You had the top 2 teams win their matches, and you had the bottom 2 teams win their matches, even if it was against the number 3 team. It was just a day of underdogs and, what would you call them, overdogs? I guess at this point. Either way.
Nobody says overdogs.
Why not? It's the opposite of under.